Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Less than a week till Christmas, yet the racing does continue. We go for the penultimate round tonight. It's Lime Rock Park. You're watching the TGR Nation Grand V Series live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Alex Marshall, as always joined by Tristan Herbst, and we are looking at this circuit. Personally, I've come to love it over the recent weeks. I know some others love it even more. With these cars, with this type of circuit, it is bound to be a hell of a season penultimate. Tristan, how are we feeling tonight going into this one? Oh, we also have Jim Cunningham in the production truck in the back. Is it a bit wet? Is it a bit wet? I think it might be a little bit leaking in the production truck. How are we doing, Tristan?
Yeah, doing great. And I'm not going to lie to you, Lime Rock, a very interesting track to race. It's also got a lot of configurations that you can run, actually, depending on the car that you obviously pick. The Formula V is a very common pick for Lime Rock Park. You see the GR86s here, the M2s also race here a bit. But the Formula Vs, especially in your intro into iRacing in the Formula Car series, you're going to be racing the Formula Vs around here a lot. And so most of our drivers, especially in their upcoming into the iRacing platform, will be quite used to this config. You can see we're running the chicane configuration, which includes that chicane you just saw a couple of seconds ago, which does add a little bit more of an interesting sector in the Formula Vs, as it does mean they don't just get to climb the hill in a steady standard pace. They've got to take it through the chicane one by one, trying to get over the curbs, and it does always make it interesting. But like Alexa mentioned, we're at the penultimate round of season number 3, and my goodness, how fast this season has gone. We were just reviewing season number 2 not so long ago, and here we already are at the end of season number 3, and we've got a couple of good runners yet again here today who are going to be wanting to get those lap times in and try and put themselves up on that board.
Well, speaking of lap times, we had a bit of issues what we fixed, but now it is green for the second and final time in 2025, and it is qualifying underway here tonight. So far, we have got plenty of drivers on the grid. Sean Gopinski, Rodrigo Tostes, Christopher Castellano, Alexander Borgstrud, Neil Hanley, Matthias Marin, David Hunger, Mark Schweening, Rob Wright, Adrian Borowski, Kirk Stanley, Alan Degassis, Zenkar, Sully Khan, Gianni Lutsu, and Thomas Lord Flemington is back tonight with Alex Boubert Bradley and Martin Visser. We're currently watching Alan Degassis, but we'll get this out of the way because I don't think we'll see him out on circuit due to this fact, Tristan. Sully Khan, after what we saw last week, having to be aided back onto the race circuit to continue their race, to pick up their podium, they have been given a penalty of a back of the grid start tonight. So from riches to rags.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate for Sully Khan, because if you did watch last week's TGR Nation Racing, it was a phenomenal shove from Sully Khan all the way the entirety of the beginning of the race until I think it was a little bit of commentator's curse that got into his fuel mixture there. But for most of the race, he was running extremely well, and then unfortunately towards the end of it, he really did get unlucky. I mean, Alex, I don't think we've seen something like that before, and seeing a Formula V lodged in between a barrier and a slight ditch in the side of Canadian Motorsport, Wild West Motorsports Park. But unfortunately, we saw that with Salman Khan. And if you're wondering where that penalty come from, he did get assistance from Gopinski, who gave him a bit of a shunt to get his car back on the road. Unfortunately, it didn't help much because it was a little bit of karma that he received. A couple laps after that, he did find himself planted upside down in turn number 1. So very unfortunate stuff there for Sully Khan. Maybe today, I'm not even going to talk about him actually, Alexa. If you bring his name up, I think we should move on. Let's let Sully not have the limelight tonight. Maybe it's what he needs after receiving his penalty. But we'll focus on a couple of the other drivers. Obviously, Lutzu is here, as well as Mr. Lord Flemington. So we've got a couple of the fast drivers. Well, everybody's fast here, but a couple of the drivers contending for that championship win. Unfortunately, the reigning champion from the past 2 seasons has now missed the previous round and is going to miss this round, Mr. Rattray White. So very unfortunate to see that, but I'm sure the rest of the grid is going to give us one heck of a race.
Yeah, I mean, Rattray did say earlier on in the season in one of the post-race interviews that he didn't feel like he was going to win this championship with Gianni Lutzu showing up so much and with Thomas Flemington there as well. So maybe he's just accepted the fact and he's going to let him go for it, as Gianni Lutzu is currently set up top with a 1:07.725. But Thomas Flemington is going to be coming in the line here. His fastest in 1, 2, 3, down into 4, goes across the line, 1:07.724. That's going to put him up to a top time, 1:07.516, I should say. He's P number 1, Gianni Lutzu P2, Alexander Borgstrud P number 3. So the Brit once again returns and is on top. There is another driver in the pit. That is Thomas Lord Flemington. Alan Degassis goes up into P number 4 with a 1:08.551. Also, you did mention the V's round here, Tristan, but from my new experience, because of the recent games that we've been able to get across the racing series, MX5's round here as well. Sometimes you choose an MX5 over a V when you're learning a new track.
Yeah, definitely. I actually forgot about that car. It's also one of the cars I did a lot of laps in around Lime Rock Park. It's a very fun car to drive around here, and like I mentioned, a couple of notable others. The Renault Clio drives around here as well, the GR86 and the BMW M2 CS. But in terms of the Formula category, it's definitely going to be the Formula V, maybe the Formula Ray F1600s might be here as well, the Formula Ford. But for most of the newer drivers to iRacing, the Formula V will be that pick around Lime Rock Park to feel the car. And it's a very interesting track in terms of its layout, because it is quite a smooth flowing track. And then obviously we've got that inaugural chicane and then a couple of corners where you really have to get the car slowed down. But for most of this track, you are going to be trying to hold that foot straight down to the floor of the car, trying to hone in on that top speed. But there will be a couple of corners that the drivers have to nail their braking points, or else they might be seeing a little bit of grass trapping. There is not much gravel traps here around Lime Rock Park. Obviously a shortage of gravel supplies in the area, so we've just got a bunch of grass all over. But it's going to do the same job. It might get clogged up in the radiators. And man, oh man, we've already given the cleaning crews of these Formula Vs quite a heck of a season here with all the dirt ovals. So we might be seeing a little bit more of that with the green grass. But about 5 or so minutes left of qualifying, and Mr. Lord Flemington puts himself well up into first position, a 1:07.5, and Lutzu just off of him, about 2/10 of a gap. And unfortunately for Borgersrud, got overtaken now by Degassis, quite a bit of a distance away from Lutzu and Lord Flemington. As you can see there, 1:07 for both the top drivers, 1:08 for Degassis. So quite a long margin that he'll have to fight for.
Well, also, I'm kind of Tristan, you weren't here for the first round of Mr. Flemington. I was, and I have been eating my words ever since. Because, yes, Jim is going to laugh in the background. I know he's going to start laughing any minute now. Me and Adam might have been saying some things about why is this back market in the way, not realizing that this man is an IndyCar NXT champion. So I've kind of eaten my words ever since Oran Park earlier on in the season. So maybe just having that little bit of extra pace in a Formula car is Thomas Lord Flemington. But of course, Gianna Lutsu, currently top now, 1 minute 7.369, GT driver as well. Keep in mind. So it really does show that not just Max Verstappen likes to do sim racing when you do IRL racing.
Yeah, definitely. So it seems like something that a lot of the real-life drivers have taken to. Obviously, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, they pulled the strings of it during COVID-19. I'm sure if anybody wanted to look for entertainment in the motorsports area in COVID-19, you would have resorted to some form of Twitch stream with Max Leclerc or Norris. But lots of the other very popular, Alex Albon as well, but lots of the other popular drivers from different categories, not just Formula One, take to sim racing in their spare time, maybe even for training sakes, to get themselves, keeping themselves in that flow. You know that real life racing isn't a 24/7 kind of game. And so there is quite a lot of breaks in between each round. Sometimes the drivers will atone towards a simulator to keep themselves within the balance. But it's good to see them still in a massive competition like this, like the TGR Nation Grand V, because we've got drivers of all different scales. Obviously, Lutsu and Fleming, both real life drivers. And then we've got a lot of drivers who this might actually be their first ever official live stream series. That's the first time they're seeing themselves up on YouTube. And here they are busy racing with real life drivers. So it's a great mix to see the balance between real life drivers and obviously a mixed amount of crew within this Formula V category. And with the simplicity of this car, it does allow for those drivers who are slightly newer to not just be absolutely eaten by drivers like Lutsu as well as Thomas Fleming, because a car like a GT3 with a very customizable setup plan compared to something like a Formula V, you could see the top drivers seriously running away. But in a race like this, in a series like this, you don't see it too much. Obviously, the faster drivers will still shine, like you see Lutsu 107 compared to Neil Handy down with a 109. But it's not going to be as gradual in the Formula Vs, especially since they aren't that fast compared to something like a GT3 or even a Formula One car. But still, lots and lots of great action that we've seen, and I'm sure Alexa can say the same from what we've seen so far over this season.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about sim racing and IRL at the same time. So let's continue on with that, because there isn't really many improvements from what I'm looking at. It's not just like real life to sim racing. There is sim racing to real life, like as shown with like Jimmy Broadbent going on to race in the 24 Hours of Nordschleife, etc. So like you've also got James Baldwin in there as well. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe this, like you were saying, Tristan, this could be their first time on a broadcasted series on YouTube as Alexander Borgstrud goes up into P number 3. Here comes Zen Kart to the line, but they're going a little bit slower and there's no improvement for them. Who knows? We could be looking at these drivers, and maybe one day they might do a Jimmy Broadbent and be out there at the Nordschleife or maybe Le Mans or heck, even in Formula One one day.
Yeah, you're talking about the whole sim to real life. And I mean, another notable driver, he's all over YouTube, is Mr. Suelo Almeida. I don't know if anybody else has seen him, but I mean, the driver who literally came from a G29 racing rig on his desk, and now he races the Radical Series in America. So, I mean, it's a great progression to see. And he's even past that actually as well, LMP2 that he's racing now with this team. So, I mean, it just shows to you that sim racing has definitely scaled up. Obviously, in the beginning of it, when we're running on our I mean, I don't know if any of you guys even remember it or if you even had any of these kits, but having the good old bungee wheel steering wheels, I mean, those were the days. But talking about it, let's get to our starting grid. Lutsu will be starting in first with Thomas Lord Flemington in second. Alexander Borgersrud will take to the grid on third. Adrian Borowski in fourth. Sean Gapinski down in fifth. Christopher Gassiano will take sixth with Sully Khan after serving that penalty. I'm not too sure if it's been added already, but down in seventh. Alan DeGassis will take eighth. Matthias Marin will take ninth. And Rob Wright will take 10th. Zen Kart just sitting a little bit further back in 11th. Rodrigo Tostas will round off the 6th row of this grid. A little bit further down, though, as we go down to 13th, will be Mr. Benjamin Rogers. After Mr. Benjamin Rogers, we've got Martin Visser just after the two of them. David Hunger in 15th position with Alex Bube Bradley in 16th. Neil Hanley takes to 17th, and Mark Schweening rounds off the 9th row in 18th position. And Kirk Stanley will round off this 19-car grid, the number 22 from the US. We'll be looking at this huge grid going to turn number 1 at Lime Rock Park.
Indeed we will, and we get ready for it. You see them mopping on the grid. There's no gantries here, so as usual with these Formula Vs and what we've seen most of this season, we're looking at Marshall on either the left or right hand side here at Lime Rock Park. Just near Christmas, and you've got the penultimate round. It is going to be all eyes to the Marshall for the second to last time this season. It's Lime Rock Park ahead. It's green flag drop, so we are racing. Already a pit lane start for one of the drivers. Alexander Borgshaw going to get a jump on Thomas Flood Flemington. Going to have Neil Hanley get past behind this and further back. Rodrigo Tostes and Zenkar. Zenkar's going to lose out to both of them, actually, as Benjamin Rogers makes their way through. And they get themselves up in a P number 10. Nice and clean, though, as it's wheel to wheel, side by side between 4 and 5. Adrian Borowski, Sean Gapinski. Nice and tidy between them, but Adrian Borowski is just about going to stay ahead. Martin Visser ended up getting a black flag on that start, so they will have to come into the pit lane to serve that penalty, most likely due to a possible jump start. But Kirk Stanley there, Sully Khan, is in the pit lane, so they have automatically dealt with that penalty, I would say. And then up and through towards the back end of the circuit. It's a very quick circuit, Lime Rock Park. And when it comes down to the action, like you see, as Christopher Cassiano gets past Sean Gapinski, but are they going to be able to keep it? Gapinski looks for the outside line, but unable to get it in that time round. Pops into the toe as to go through the chicane, onto the back straight, down towards start-finish line. It is wheel to wheel, 4 versus 5, as you've got this further back as well. There's Alexander Borgstrud, he's further ahead, I should say. He's P number 2, chasing down Jonah Lutsu, but here comes Lord Flemington. He's going to be in the rear, toe as they head down start-finish line, looks to the right, looks to the left, and that's going to be Thomas Flemington, who's now going to be on the outside of turn number 1, flies it around the outside, and he is just about going to keep it. That's Thomas Flemington up in a P number 1 at the end. At the start of lap number 2.
Yeah, pretty good start there from the whole grid. Unfortunately, Visser did indeed get a bit of a jump start, so that's a drive-through penalty on a lap number 1. Very unfortunate for him, but for the rest of the drivers, Lord Flemington will hold off strong from Lutzu and Borgersrud as they ramp down towards that first sector, but very, very close between each other, heading down towards the chicane. And as you can see, through the chicane, there go Lutzu, still leading from the likes of Borgersrud, but Lord well up in front as the rest of the drivers just a bit further behind. Try and keep up with the pack. The numbers are still indeed very orange on the left-hand side of your screen. The live timings tower representing that the cars are within a 5/10 gap within each other. So lots and lots of fighting still happening all over the grid. We'll try and snap back to as much as action that we can possibly see, but for the time being, it is going to be Lutzu slowly starting to catch up on Flemington. A bit further behind, Benjamin Rogers now catching up to the backside of Matthias Marin, the second league owner, and now side by side on the back straight. What can he do as he slowly starts to creep up on the purple and white Formula V? This could be a lunge up onto the inside. Indeed it is, holding off on that inside curb, and looks like he is going to be able to hold it from Matthias Marin. Great overtake, and as they slingshot themselves up towards the gases, he does go on the grass a bit, and that's actually going to ruin the run for him. Matthias Marin side by side yet again, but does manage to tuck back in, going up towards the chicane now. Loads of drivers. Matthias Marin is off, almost taking out the camera on the side there, and unfortunately for him, that is going to be a massive loss of traction. Not too sure where he lands up. Thankfully, he's managed to recover the car, but there he drops behind Rob Wright. Costas will now be fighting with them as they go up towards the chicane. Very unfortunate there for Marin, just taking a slightly wider line, but back up towards the top. Lutzu fighting onto the backside of Lord Flemington. It's now side by side, and Lutzu gets up ahead. Flemington making a slight mistake on the exit of the top of the hill, and it's into first position for Gianni Lutzu. Borgersrud and Borowski just a bit further behind them, also fighting on strong, but you can see that he's not going to let this one up, not at all, because Borgersrud trying to get alongside Lord Flemington. It's not going to be enough though, as they go wheel to wheel. You can see it's gearbox to nose coming down towards turn number 1. Lutzu is still going to hold it as they turn right into turn number 1, and the rest of the drivers behind will have to try and stack up and remain within that top 4 battle.
Yeah, they will stack up and they will sit Jonah Lutzu, P number 1, followed by Thomas Lord Flemington, P number 2, Eddie Baraska, P number 3, with Alexander Borgshaw, P number 4, and then Christopher Cassiano, P number 5. This is a fight between these top 4. We saw this earlier on this season back at Rutskogen. So, are we going to see another fight all the way through where you got the top 4 just battling constantly? It was only in the last 10 minutes at Rutskogen, but now it seems like these guys will be able to keep it for the longer race because, of course, Track floor's a lot better than Lutz Kogan, but there is Alexander Borgström. He is 1 position down since his race start. Biggest gainer is Benjamin Rogers, gaining 5 as they have Sean Gopinski and Alan Degassis, who have just gone down the order apparently. Yellow, yellow, yellow for Rogers. Right, Marin. So something must have happened there. So between them, as let's get a visual. This is what happened further back. Here is Alan Degassis as they head into the right-hander now. And I think, is it just going to be a slight bit of contact for the chicane? Yeah. Oh, no. It's actually going to be a loss by, I believe that was Sean Gopinski, who ended up back to the pits. Yeah, that was Gopinski who would end up going sideways, and that would be Degassis. It would be evasive action by Rogers, Wright and Marin, and having to cut the circuit, meaning they would pick up a slowdown penalty in that factor. So that is unfortunate in that regard for them. But there's Alexander Borgström once again. This is your top 4 fight. It's Jonah Lutzu who leads, followed by Thomas Love Flemington, Adrian Barowski and Alexander Borgström in that fight. Christopher Cassiano has a bit of a gap, same with Rob Wright, but Benjamin Rogers is right on the back of Rob. It's Canadian versus the American, battle of the North American drivers.
Oh, as you say, Borgström looked like he was going for quite a risky dive up onto the inside there of Borowski, trying to find an alternative line in his white and purple Formula V, but just not enough and quite a distance away. I think if he did attempt that any further, that would have been quite a unfortunate ruling for himself and a possible penalty coming his way. But back up towards the top fight, you can see it side by side again, almost for our top drivers. Lord Flemington, what's going on? He's unfortunately let Borowski go through. Looked like he had a bit of a slowdown there. Now trying to hold on to the inside again. He looks like he's going to be able to keep it, but obviously the corner is going to flip into the next sector. He is able to keep it just ahead of Borowski, and will now chase back onto the backside of Gianni Lutzu, a bit further behind Borowski, Borgström and Cassiano now joining on in this top 4-way fight, and it's eventually turning into a top 5 fight for the lead. You can see Lutzu still leads as they come towards the chicane. The pink Formula V leading from the red, leading from the yellow, and it's going to be a fight like this for the rest of the race as they all try and get up towards that top spot. Lutzu holding on strong though, but you can see that Fleming is slowly starting to creep up closer. Here's Schweening as he completely misses the right-hander there just on the top of the hill. He'll have to take the safety route. That's the chicane, apologies, and takes the escape road, which would be the normal road depending on configuration circumstances. Unfortunately for him, that is going to be a slowdown penalty as he has exceeded track limits. Cassiano has also gotten a bit of a slowdown penalty and back towards the top, fighting over here, 9th position. This is a big way fight. Looks to be the fight for 6th position possibly, as we see Rob Wright leading that from Rogers all the way down to Marin Degassis, and you can see how hectic it almost three wide going into turn number 1, and everybody scrambling to try and find a slot. And there we see Gopinski just getting ahead of Bradley into that right-hander, holding off on the inside line. That looks to be possibly one of the other drivers of Hunger versus Zencar just a bit further behind. So everybody still fighting. That is a black flag for Cassiano, and that is going to be a drive-through penalty, unfortunately, for the driver who managed to get up towards the top 5th, but he's unfortunately sold that boat down the road with that black flag penalty.
There was also a slowdown there for Flemington, so possibly an off circuit. But this is, like you were saying, it's about P number 8. It's P8 all the way down to P number 13. So in this fight, you've got leading it is Matthias Marin, followed by Alan Degassis, Sean Gopinski, Alex Boubert Bradley, Rodrigo Tostes, and Zen Carr. As I was saying earlier, Sully Khan has lost the most positions, 9 positions down, but not really, as they were supposed to start at the back. So losing the most is actually going to be Sean Gopinski, who's lost 5. He's 6P number 10, but Alex Boubert Bradley is gained the most in 5. So P10 and 11, they're now going to go 6 up, 6 down as they fight in that moment. Matthias Marin also there. You've got massive fight in between these guys, as that is going to be Sean Gopinski and Matthias Marin, who are losing out loads of positions in that moment. One mistake is all it costs you. Matthias Marin just keeps on dropping. As my fault with the massive crash. I was looking at the timing tower, and that is, we'll get a replay on that because we are going to have to analyse that in a moment, because surely somebody is going to have to be at fault. This is what happens. It's 4 a square, goes in the 3 abreast down into turn number 1, and it's just a turn in and round it goes. A massive flip, you're able to catch it, but into the barrier. And that is what happens. Turns in, no space, round it goes, because you know what the suspension is like on these Formula Vs, Tristan.
Yeah, definitely so. They've become quite creative, especially a track with so much gradient like this. We saw it at Wild West Motorsport Park. how creative they got. And with Lime Rock, with the huge up and down of the hill, it does also get a bit creative. So very unfortunate there for Matthias Marin. Unfortunate flip and into the wall. Fortunately, it is light damage, I believe, so it's not going to be too much of a hassle to repair. I think if that was real life, that would have been a head injury assessment for the driver, and that would have been a DNF for quite a couple of rounds, I would imagine, to get that car up and running again. But fortunately, this is just a simulator, so Matthias Marin heads into the pit lane. He's going to get the car fixed up, and back out he will go to be fighting for that top 15 spot. Down in 19th he goes, though, unfortunately for the time being. Alex Bube Bradley just on the backside of the gases, and it's getting very close between the two. As you can see, Bube right on the backside of the gases. Through the chicanes they go, and trying to find an alternative line to break the stream there of the gases. Right is also a little bit further up the road, but not within a good enough distance for them to cause him to join the fight. So for the time being, Bradley versus the gases, that's that main fight that will continue to go on. The battle for 8th position. How is it going to scale out, though? Coming down the downhill, it's going to be the gases still holding on strong. Up in front, though, there's a little bit of bump drafting going on between our two leaders, Lord Flemington and Gianni Lutsu. And Flemington just sitting in the back tray there of Lutsu against that gearbox. You can probably feel the vibrations through his steering wheel as he bump drafts all the way down turn number 1. And just a bit further behind, though, Borgestrad, Borowski, also within a very good fighting distance. Cassiano's dropped off majorly, and he looks like he still has to serve that drive-through penalty. So that's very unfortunate for the likes of Cassiano and Borowski. Cassiano and Wright a little bit further behind, apologies, as they continue fighting. Oh, very, very close to contact there between the two leaders, and Lord Flemington almost side by side now with Lutsu as they go through the next chicane. Just not enough, though, to get on the backside, and he will have to clock back in towards this fight. It's a straight line fight as they keep on going.
On the back and towards the right-hander as you continue around this circuit. You're at 1/10. You're at 1/3. 2 more thirds to go in this penultimate round, and Gianni Lutsu leads this, but Lord Flemington is coming right behind him, right on the rear end, looking at that gearbox. Keep it in 3rd and 4th. They're never going to go down in 2nd realistically in these Formula Vs, so not a lot of shifting, more about momentum. Heading now down in towards the left-hander and then continue up the hill. One of my favourite circuits because of the recent weeks. I don't know about Tristan, but it's one which many drivers know. It comes down to that. Realistically, it comes down to now who is the best racecraft, because every single driver will know this circuit basically off by heart as they head through the triple chicane, Singapore Sling-esque in the olden days. As they continue now on the right-hand side, going to be right there with them, down in towards the braking zone. Also going to have Alexander Borgstrud, who's right behind them, incredibly close, and they head into the chicane. This is racing action at its finest, but that's Gianni Lutsu, who does get a slowdown. That will give Thomas Lord Flemington an opportunity to now close in again, and he moves to the right-hand side. He is going to get the overspeed, and because of that slowdown, that's severely hampered Gianni Lutsu. Are they going to be able to do it here, though? They might do it into turn number 1. Alexander Borgstrud's right there. They go free abreast now into turn number 1. Don't want a repeat of what happened to Marin. Will be in the background, and it's wheel to wheel. Going to go right nose to tail, but that's Thomas Flemington, who's back in a P number 1. Cassiano into the pit lane to serve that black flag penalty, and they're going to drop further and further down the order. So now that is going to be that. Lord Flemington leads, followed by Joe Lutsu, Alexander Borgstrud, and then Borowski.
Yeah, it was a great jump up into the lead there by Lord Flemington, just overcoming from Lutsu as they keep on pushing on. Kirk Stanley a little bit further down in 12th position. He's fighting onto the backside of Alex Bradley, just a little bit further up in front in 11th position. And just behind the likes of Stanley is Mr. Khan, our penalty server from the previous round. Unfortunately, he hasn't had the greatest of starts, down in 13th position. I'm not going to talk too much about him. If you want to know why, go watch the previous round after this. But let's keep it on, move it down to Neil Hanley down in 13th, as he also tries to keep within that fight for 11th. Bradley gets a slowdown penalty, unfortunately, and that's going to cause him to lose out on that position to the likes of Kirk Stanley. And Kirk Stanley moves now up into that 11th position. Slot Khan just behind, and Hanley just behind them. So Bradley still losing out time down in 14th as they head towards the bottom down right-hander. And this is going to be the fight, but back up towards the top, you can see it's getting very close now between the top four. Borgersrud and Borowski getting right onto the backside of Gianni Lutsu. And this is how it's going to scale for the rest of the race. But Lord Flemington seems to be holding his stride up in front. Bradley loses another 2 positions to Hunger and Schweening. He moves down to 16th, unfortunately, but still holding on to that top flame. You can see Borgersrud is now ever so closer, getting up to the backside of Gianni Lutsu. We might be seeing a side-by-side here coming up towards the top of the hill, as he just doesn't have enough to get towards the backside. But a little bit further is still Borowski, as he tries to keep on the gearbox of Borgersrud, but unfortunately he is dropping off slightly compared to what Borgersrud is doing on the backside of Gianni Lutsu. And Lord Flemington still trying to climb on up in the front, a little bit further down though, on board with Mr. Benjamin Rogers, as he scales around the track just up ahead of Rob Wright, as they try to chase down on the gases for the final spot of the top 5. You can see how they're fighting just a bit further behind, I believe, is Mr. Kapinski. As that looks like a 3-way fight. That's Benjamin Rogers. I'm not too sure who the driver is in between them in that 3-way battle. It might be a driver who's unfortunately been lapped, because it is currently only Rogers and Wright. Oh, apology. That's the gases to Rogers to Wright. Sorry, just wasn't reading that correctly. So that's the gases leading that 5-way fight. Rogers and Wright just a little bit further behind him. And so that's going to be the battle for 5th, the final one of this battle, of this fighting, as they try and keep it on. The final spot of the top 5 is what I was trying to get at. The number 7 of Rogers will try and chase down on Stanley.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go for it now as they head through the right-hander, up and through the chicane. Alexander Buxted right there, right in the middle of this pack. You've got him trying to make the move as they head down into the right-hander. Again, as they continue here, as we are going just under the main straight and doing just that. It's down and in the toe. Alexander Buxted right there with him. Closing, but backs out of it. I think Alexander Borgsted's choosing to go for a safety net here, because he is halfway through this race. But do not forget, Tristan, this race is brought to you by some people.
Definitely so. This race is brought to you by 2 massive sponsors who have been here for the entirety of Season 3 and have made made everything possible, and they've actually partnered up to give a 2-way provision for this season. So obviously it is Lutsu Driver Performance, Mr. Gianni Lutsu, currently tailing onto the backside of Lord Flemington and providing all your driver performance needs, driver training, and just learning how to get faster within the iRacing platform. So don't feel free to give that a contact if you are looking for something within those lines. And then we've got Sambo iRacing for all your iRacing track guides and lap guides as well. If you've got any track or anything that you're feeling a little bit unconfident for, maybe at the Formula V's at Lime Rock Park, Wild West Motorsport, then head over to Sambo iRacing and have a look if they've got the guide for you to try and get a little bit more speed under the belt. And they've actually combined together to provide you Sambo iRacing setups. And so along with the track guides, Lutsu Driver Performance now also adds the possibility to grab setups specifically made for the car and track combination, working closely with Sambo iRacing. So it's great to see the 2 of them working in unison with each other, and that's exactly what it's tailing for the rest of the season. Obviously, there is only going to be one more round of racing left after this, but glad to see that they did come together as the 2 sponsors for this league. And once again, a massive thank you to them, because without them, this wouldn't be possible. But back on towards the racing, we're now officially past our halfway mark in this race around Lime Rock Park. 16 laps have been completed, and the likes of Lord Flemington looks pretty strong, holding off in P number 1.
Yeah, indeed it is. Just while you were talking about that as well, Sean Gopinski and Rodrigo Tostes, they've been battling the entire time, and they've switched positions again, so they've got the nice little fight. These guys have been fighting the entire season. They always put on a show. It's great to see. We're over the halfway mark. 21-degree track temperature, 18.3 degree ambient as you continue round the left-hander. But do not forget about Rodrigo Tostes. We may not see him much, but this is the thing that we do here, Tristan. We don't really see Rodrigo Tostes or Sean Gopinski until you realise how high up in the order they are. They're kind of like George Russell in the F1 season just gone. You don't realise they're there until it's like, oh my god, how have we not realised they're getting these points?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about that. I saw an Instagram post that George Russell is actually 99.99% away from 100% race attendance in the season. I mean, again, it's like you're saying, it's something nobody would absolutely notice. And like you're saying it's the same with Rodrigo Tostas. We saw Gapinski in season 2. He was quite prominent in that top battle, but obviously that was before we had Lord Flemington, as well as a couple of the other drivers. I think it was literally Rattray White. Lutzu was there a little bit, and we obviously had Gapinski, who was fighting in that top 5. He had a couple of race wins in season number 2, but unfortunately in season number 3 he hasn't been so fortunate. And so like Alexa says, and talking about him, he gets a yellow flag. That's just making my confidence drop here in terms of commentating. Unfortunately, Gapinski getting the yellow flag, and so that's going to make the fight slightly harder, chasing from Tostas, because now Tostas will be just on the backside of him, coming into the next couple of laps, and might be ready to make an overtake in the next couple of corners. Khan will get ahead now of the likes of Kirk Stanley, but there we see the likes of Rob Wright just slowly starting to catch up. And he actually does get Tostas just a little bit further behind Rob Wright, and Zen Carr as well. Both of them getting past the likes of Gapinski after that slowdown penalty. So very unfortunate for him to get that penalty at this point in the race. He's lost 2 positions from a slowdown on track limits, and that just shows you how punishable track limits can really be. You think, it's just a quick slowdown, but unfortunately, if you're in quite a close battle where you've got 2 cars 6/10 within distance from behind you, unfortunately that slowdown is going to do absolutely everything to you, and you will lose a couple of positions. Hunger gets a slowdown penalty as well, unfortunately, and loses out to Vissa down in 17th position, and that's how it's going to go for the rest of this race. A couple of more penalties will probably be administered as we get towards the end of this race. You'll see those final track cut warnings are eventually going to come through, and eventually it's going to trigger that slowdown penalty. There's another one. Bradley, Mr. Bube Bradley, down in 15th, gets himself a slowdown penalty, unfortunately, and will have to serve it now. But for the rest of the drivers, everybody seems to be maintaining quite a good running. Rogers on the backside of the gases. That's still for the final slot of the top 5. Can he do it in the next coming laps? We'll have to wait and see. Rogers right on the backside of his gearbox, though. He's going to need to push a little bit harder if he wants to make that position count.
Yeah, he's going to have to push, but either way, it can count at the end of the day. It is, while you were talking about that as well, P number 1 and 2 did switch around, as they usually do. No surprise. Joanna Lutsu leader, followed by Thomas Lord Flemington. So, Christopher Cassiano is lapped, unfortunately. Really unlucky there. But I'm looking at this, and I do wonder, as Sean Gapinski gets past Zen Carr further back, we've looked at these drivers throughout this season. I'm confident there's going to be another season. So, from this season, what do we think the lessons that they've learned are going to be? If we see, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see like 95% of this grid return. As this is Alan Degassis currently on Benjamin Rogers down in turn number 1, and no move made.
Yeah, talking about lessons being learned, I think there's going to be quite a couple of lessons, and from what we've seen in this season, it's going to be that the Formula V suspension is no joke. I think quite a couple of drivers have unfortunately had a bit of a run-in with the good old cartwheel, and we've seen it a number of times within season 2 and season number 3, where the drivers take to performing a couple of circus tricks with their very expensive race car. And fortunately, like we mentioned, this is a simulator, but if that was real life, that would be something that could possibly completely pull somebody out of the sport financially. And it's definitely something to learn with this car, is that the suspension does get bouncy, especially with the iRacing netcode. You do have to be careful where you plant that car. But talking about planting a car, Lord Flemington decides he wants to move into the gearbox rent-free of Gianni Lutzu, as he yet again is right on the backside, and he doesn't look like he wants to make the dive just as of yet. He's waiting for the cleanest possible overtake on Lutzu. He doesn't want to lunge and cause a possible slowdown into the next corner. He really wants to get a good run on the exit of one of the corners, have a good side-by-side battle, and just get ahead coming into the braking zone. And that's exactly what he strives for, as he's been sitting behind the likes of Lutzu. Obviously, they have been switching, but if you have been watching this battle between the two, whenever Lord Flemington is just a bit behind Lutzu, there isn't any aggravating dive bombs trying to get ahead as soon as possible. He knows there is still about 10 minutes or so left of racing, 7 minutes, sorry, that they've got to contest for. And so he does have a little bit of time to play with. He doesn't have to take any stupid or risky moves. I mean, after all, he does only need to make one position move to get into the lead of this race. So that will be the plan for the likes of Flemington. A little bit further behind, though, Rob Wright still fighting on the backside of Benjamin Rogers on the top of the hill now. Rogers chasing onto the gases through the right-hander and through the double right-hander they actually go. And into the left-hander, down the hill they will now chase, and Rogers just a bit further behind the gases as they continue to push on. Rob Wright will try and keep within this train. I believe the two drivers in front do have slightly better consistency records that we've seen over the season. Unfortunately, Rob Wright, a driver that we actually saw DNF on the opening lap, on literally the pull-off from the starting grid at Wild West Motorsport. Unfortunately, we did see him hold the steering wheel left, and then he disappeared into the pit lane and didn't come back. So it's good to see him fighting onto the backside now of Benjamin Rogers, who's fighting onto the backside of Alan DeGassis. So with a couple more laps left, about 6 minutes or so of racing, we're averaging about a minute or so of lap time. We're looking at possibly maybe 6 laps if we're pushing it, but I would say about 5 laps of racing left here between all of these drivers as they continue to go around track. Benjamin Rogers does get ahead now of Borowski, of Alan DeGassis, sorry, and now it's going to be the turn for Rob Wright to get ahead. Not too sure what happened. DeGassis just losing out to Rogers as Rob Wright will now try and get around. Looked like a little bit of a mistake through the chicane, if you have to ask me.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake. So that's going to be really unfortunate for them there, as this is going to be the replay here as they head up and through. Down towards the chicane, it's similar to the old Singapore sling. And, yep, it's sausage curb and rear end kicks out. Nothing much you can really do there. Evasive action there actually taken by Rob Wright, which would be the factor to be putting him right behind him. So that's really unfortunate. This is going through the right hander as they head through. As we head through these corners. As apologies, I realised I said Thomas. I realised I said Thomas Flemington earlier, saying he was an IndyCar NXT driver. That is Louis Foster. That's Louis Foster who's IndyCar. This man is Thomas Fleming, and I am trying to remember. He races GT cars, so he is very similar to Gian Lutzu. So that is why I was getting. It was Louis Foster who was the IndyCar driver. So my apologies about that incorrect statement earlier. Thomas Fleming is, of course, GT driver, and I know that one of my co-hosts from earlier on this season, Adam Reed, is a very big fan of Thomas Fleming.
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing a real life driver in a series like this, it's always going to be a nice thing to see, and it's great to see that there's a couple of fans out there from his real life racing watching him now push on strong in the Formula Vs. But a bit further behind, the top 10 fight is definitely still at scale and at large. Zen Carr just a bit further behind at the likes of Sully Khan, as they now push on to the backside of Rodrigo Tostas, who wasn't able to catch up to Gopinski in the past couple of laps. We did mention them about 3 or 4 laps ago, but there has been no change to his avail, unfortunately. So Rodrigo Tostas will continue to chase down on Gopinski coming through the chicane. Now he has to watch out from behind. He's got 2 cars potentially looking to take away his 9th position slot. Zen Carr is wanting to break into that top 10. He only needs to pass 1 more driver, but he's got 2 upper grabs just up ahead. The purple car, who once had a huge lightning strike on the side, and I'm very upset to see that it's not here anymore, but still repping the purple car at least as he chases down the hill. It's yellow and blue versus yellow and blue, different livery styles though, a little bit more of a stripy variant for Rodrigo Tostas. If you did watch early on in the season, he actually had a fully Brazilian themed car, green, yellow and blue, but now it's obviously changed up a bit. It's 3 wide though. Solomon Khan on the outside with Rodrigo Tostas as Zen Carr. Zen Carr will have the inside line, and it's actually a great overtake from Zen Carr. We talked about him getting into the top 10. He's pushed himself all the way up into 9th position, and unfortunately for Sully Khan, he's lost out now down to 11th. Tostas remains in 10th as they continue fighting to the 2 yellow and blue forming Formula Vs. And very unfortunate to see that, but we'll have to flash up to the top. Mr. Thomas Lord Flemington, what's gone wrong there? Very, very slow driving. There's Mr. Matthias Marin going past, or DeGassis possibly, and completely missing his braking point, but he already looked a little bit slower beforehand there. So very unfortunate for Thomas Fleming for his drive over there. I'm not too sure if we have any further extended replay of what happened, but he's lost out majorly, down to 4th position right now. As he was fighting for the lead. You can see he's already slow in that sector. So here he is behind Lutzu. This is where it all went wrong. Here we go. the inaugural chicane. Was there a possible driver error from the likes of Flemington? It's over the sausage curb, and a bit of a suspension bounce off on the sausage curb, and very, very unfortunately, that's where we see the slowdown from Lord Flemington, and then just getting caught up by the likes of Alexander Borgersrud and Adrian Borowski just a bit further behind, and then missing the braking zone and locking up on the front left. Very unfortunate for Flemington, and down to 7th position. So Flemington, fastest lap of this race, but he will lose that chance to fight for the lead.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the initial bounce, and then that car basically landed straight on top of the sausage curb on the exit. So I would not be surprised if there is possible underfloor damage on that Formula V. Like, landing on top of a sausage curb like that, which spurts out the ground, is not going to be a nice one. So he's going to be in damage control mode at this point, I believe, for Thomas Fleming. So that's going to be really unfortunate for him, but not unfortunate for Adrian Borowski, who's currently on the back of Alexander Borgstrud. That's taken Thomas out of the fight on the podium. That now makes it Adrian Borowski up, promoted. But he wants that P number 2. That both Alexander Borgstrud and Adrian Borowski are up, and it is now over the 30 minutes. So this is going to be it. Gianna Lutsu, 4 seconds ahead, is now heading into the final chicane. It is going to be checkered, he will see, as they head through the left-hand and out and down the back straight. This is Gianna Lutsu, who has had an absolutely amazing race from pole in penultimate. He's going to get a Christmas present early, because Gianni Lutsu will win here at Lime Rock Park. And in the background, you can see Alexander Borgstrud and Adrian Borowski. It's all over the place for Alexander Borgstrud. Adrian Borowski is going to lose out, unfortunately, unable to get past. Don't know if the weaving will be under investigation. It just might be. That's your podium. Gianna Lutsu, Alexander Borgstrud, and Adrian Borowski. Here comes Benjamin Rogers around the final corner. P number 4 for him tonight. 9 positions gained. 20 seconds behind the podium, but 9 positions up since his race start. The 007 making up the most amount of positions in this race. As that's down the main straight, Rob Wright losing out to Alan Degassis just ahead. So it's Alan Degassis, but here is Sully Khan from the last. He's going to get the photo finish, and he will finish just ahead by a millimetre of a nose. P number 9 for Sully Khan. Zenkar finishes P number 10.
That's super unfortunate for Zenkar losing out, but Sully Khan will take that 9th position slot. Talking about that move from Borowski, looking at the time that he lost out from Borgersrud, that is 0.05 of a second difference. And I'm not going to lie to you, without any form of on-track weaving, that 0.05 of a second difference could definitely be eradicated without the weaving. So that might be a bit of an investigation against Borgersrud. He could have lost that final position without the weaving, and obviously multiple positions against somebody attacking you is indeed illegal in Formula Racing. So we'll have to see how that gets ruled out, but that is officially the racing over for our penultimate round. Lutsu takes an incredible win, 4.8 seconds of the gap. And I mean, my goodness, 0.000 of a difference between Salman Khan as well as the likes of Zenkar. So very impressive work there for Sully Khan to get the jump. Here's your replay though. Adrian Borowski versus Alexander Borgstrud. You can see the weaving is already slightly beginning there. He is still quite a margin behind. You can see slowly starting to creep up. He's getting very close. I'm not going to lie to you. If there was no weaving, this could have been a side-by-side, and he does block on the outside. Coming over the checkered flag, they're practically side-by-side. So, I don't know. If you have to ask me, that could have been a win. That could have been a position up for Borowski without the weaving. So, good luck to the Stewart team. That's why I'm a commentator. I don't need to make those decisions that could annoy a driver. But very, very good race from Gianni Lutsu, and great from the race as well.
Yeah, it is. Let's go through your final classification for tonight. It is John Lutsu who ends up winning with Alexander Borgstrud P number 2. Adrian Borowski sits P number 3 with Benjamin Rogers just outside the podium in P number 4. Then Alan Degassis, Rob Wright, Thomas Fleming, Sean Gopinski, Sully Khan, then Zenkar rounds out the top 10. Then Rodrigo Tostes, Kirk Stanley, Neil Hanley, and Mark Schweening, as well as Martin Visser, with 1 lap down being Christopher Cassiano, and then David Hunger being 3 laps down, and then 10 laps down is Alex Boo Bear Bradley. And then, of course, Matthias Marin there as well, just outside of that top position. Tristan, I'll let you take this one, because we'll definitely want to get an opinion on that final bit, because Benjamin Rogers, you are live on Apex Racing TV.
Yeah, welcome into the commentary box. And
it's good to be in the booth with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, astounding finish for 4th position. How does it feel to finish up just behind the podium spots?
I was good. We had some really good racing there in the mid-pack. Got a pretty decent start off the line. That allowed us to get a few spots. Got a bit of damage a few laps in, so that slowed our pace a bit, but we kind of just hunkered down, worked with some of the other guys, and I think we got a pretty good finish out of this.
Yeah, incredible stuff. And I mean, we did just have a bit of a look at the fight up in front of you. There was a slight bit of weaving going on between Borgersrud as well as Borowski on that final checkered flag. So not too sure if things might change up for you, but obviously nothing that we will know for the time being. But next week, the final round, obviously we're still not sure if it's going to be broadcasted, but Laguna Seca in the Formula V, how are you feeling for that?
Yeah, Laguna Seca is one of the best tracks I think you can race the Formula V at. A lot of elevation changes, a lot of twists and turns, and all the guys at Colson Driver Management really like that track. So I think you're going to see a lot of people come out for Laguna Seca. It's going to be a full track, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. My pace there is decent. It's not near the top of the list, but I think we may have a good finish there if we can just keep it clean.
And final one, I mean, just talk us through how the Formula V felt in general, especially towards the end of it. How did the tire wear and the car in general just feel?
Mhm. Yeah, the tire wear was pretty minimal here at Lime Rock, but I did feel the change in the overall weight of the car due to the fuel burn. I know some of the other guys had mentioned that as well. So it's just little adjustments. You change your braking points in a couple spots, and you change how much you lift going into some of the corners. But just adapting to that, that's kind of what makes the Formula V so fun, because you have to manage that while you're racing wheel to wheel with a lot of the best drivers on the service. So yeah, the car felt good throughout the race. That little bit of damage I think affected our pace just a little bit, but especially as the race went on, the car felt very planted. So no complaints here.
Incredible stuff. And before you head out and go celebrate that 4th position finish, is there anybody you'd like to mention or anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody, TGR Nation, for hosting this. I want to thank all the guys at Colson Driver Management. It's good to rep them here in this race. And yeah, hopefully everyone has a good Christmas and a good holiday. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You too. Hope you have a great festive season. And
Hey, you
we
too.
may or may not see you next week for Laguna Seca, but hope you have a great evening further.
Hey, you as well. Take care.
All right, and that was Mr. Benjamin Rogers. And yeah, I know we're talking about the battle. He was a little bit further behind that 2nd and 3rd battle, but it looks like we've got one more interview of tonight left over. Mr. Gianni Lutsu, welcome into the commentary box.
Hey guys, how you going?
Very, very good. Okay, yeah, Tristan is handing to me. I was like, hold on, is he handing me or not? It's very quiet. So, hello, Gianna Lutz. How are you feeling? Talk us through that race. We saw what happened towards the end there with Thomas Fleming.
Yeah, look, I think it honestly took away a bit of a big climatic moment at the end of the race there, in all honesty. I bet all of you guys were sitting there waiting to see what was going to happen. And even for me, I was like, oh, how am I going to position myself here? And then it just ended up being a nice solo drive to the line. So, yeah, I mean, coming in, I always knew that this track was going to be tough. I think, obviously, yeah, it is a bit of an oval, I guess, isn't it? It's got a couple of chicanes in there that can kind of spread things up, which I think, yeah, definitely came into our favour towards the end of the race there, and we were able to break away, luckily, which made it a 2-car race instead of a 4, so that was obviously handy. But then in the end, it ended up becoming a 1-car race. So, yeah, it was pretty relaxing. I think, yeah, the car was a bit touch and go today through a lot of the corners, I think, with the fuel, and it definitely made it a bit more understeery than I think we would have liked it to be. But yeah, look, nonetheless, got a win, and I think got a win at a very, very important part of the championship. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it should be nearly the championship, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, well, you say that. We got one more round left. We don't know if it'll be broadcasted yet, but of course, Laguna Seca coming your way in the Formula Vs. Talk us through it. How much do you like Laguna Seca? I mean, considering what we've seen from you this season, I would not be surprised if you love it.
Yeah, no, look, you're right. I do love it quite a lot. It's a shame that, yeah, I think it is a paid circuit now on iRacing, so it's probably not as common, in, I guess, the rookie series as you would probably find it, in the kind of, yeah, C, B, and A class stuff now. So, yeah, I've done a lot of time on it. I think it's been out on the server since I ever got onto the simulator 5 years ago now. But, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think, yeah, I guess. I think the biggest thing for me is I just got to finish the race next week. I think is the biggest thing. So, yeah, it'll be good to finish off on a high. And yeah, like I said, it's good to get a nice result this week. So good to be back on the top step. I feel like yeah, it's either been Fleming or Zach that's taken the reign the last few weeks. So good to get back on the top step. It's always nice to get a win.
Yeah, of course, getting closer to Christmas may be a little bit premature to open the bubbly, but I think you deserve it after a race win. Before before we let you go, and my producer and my in fact, yes, that is a fair point. I thought my producer was going to crack me up then, but no. Talk us through it because we know what you're going to say. We know what you're going to say to this. Before we let you go, is there anything you would like to mention?
No, you've probably heard it a few times this season now, but yeah, of course, big thank you to you guys as always. Yeah, whether or not next week obviously is broadcast or not, big thank you for all your efforts this season. It's been greatly appreciated, and I know myself and everybody that races this series really appreciates all your work. So thank you so much for that. Of course, as always, big thanks to Sully and Matthias for all their work with it as well. They've made it, yeah, a cool series that a lot of us enjoy coming to on a well, for me, a Saturday evening, for probably a lot of people around the world a Sunday afternoon, but we enjoy it very greatly. And of course, for allowing me, I should say, to sponsor the series with my coaching brand, Lutzu Drive Performance. If you ever need to get a little bit faster or want to find that last little wedge to try and be in that front pack, where all the magical racing happens, then please feel free to reach out at www.lutzudriveperformance.com, or reach out to me on any socials. So yeah, no. Big thank you to everyone that supports me with that. So it's really, really good. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. Hopefully we're back next week for another stream. But if not, I appreciate your services. It's been very, very good.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. I am sure. I'm sure somebody I'm sure if somebody got Lutzu Driver Performance for the mate for Christmas, I'm pretty sure that'd be a very nice gift for them. Congratulations on the win tonight, sir. We shall let you go.
Thank you, guys. Take it easy. See you soon.
In a bit. Okay, so Tristan, let's get your opinion on this because we're getting very, very close to the end. What is your synopsis on the race tonight?
Yeah, no, it's been a great race tonight of racing here at Lime Rock Park, and I mean it's shown its flames a little bit, especially through the chicane section for a couple of the drivers, but for most they were able to maintain their strengths around here. A couple of off-track limits, but for the most part it's been quite an eventful one. But we head to Laguna Seca. Unfortunately, like we mentioned, it might not be broadcasted. It might be if myself and Alexa unfortunately unavailable next week this time. They might be able to find two replacements for you, but unfortunately only time is going to tell. So if this is the last time we see you, it's been an absolutely amazing one from my side, and can't wait to see what we can do next year in season number 4.
Indeed it is. I'm gonna add on to that. It's been an absolute pleasure for this season and for this series. Like Tristan said, if we are back next week, we shall see you next week, but if not, this is it. This has been it for 2025 here on Apex Racing TV. If we see you again, it will most likely be in Season 4, but we'll wait and find out. This has been the race at Lime Rock Park, the penultimate round of the season. I've been Alexa Marshall with Tristan Herbst. Our producer in the background, as always, has been Jim Cunningham. Ladies and gentlemen, for possibly the last time in 2025, good night.